This week's episode of the podcast is being brought to you by Healthy Women and Asparian Therapeutics. Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. Hey there, I'm your host, Sybil Amuti, and this week is another one of those really great weeks where I get to meet and speak with an expert. Not just any kind of expert, but a health expert, because our partners at Healthy Women continue to bring me some of the most dynamic women in medicine to discuss the things that really matter to our bodies, things that we should pay attention to. And so I want to welcome and introduce to you Nurse Barb Dean. Hi, Nurse Barb.
Oh my gosh, Sybil, what a pleasure to be here today.
This is such an incredible morning for me. Our pre-conversation to the conversation let me know that I am in for a treat today.
Oh, I hope so. Because we're going to talk about something that's super scary for a lot of women, like heart disease and cholesterol. But there's a lot of good information that we can share that will help people feel more empowered and less scared about the future.
I like that. Empowered and less scared. Two things that I know I need. So great girlfriends, I'm sure you're in the market for a little empowerment and a lot less fear. So this is the perfect episode for you. So I'm going to ask that everyone grab a piece of pen and paper, because you're going to want to jot notes as Nurse Barb shares with us, really great information. And again, thank you to Healthy Women and thank you to Asparian Therapeutics for introducing this conversation. Is it okay if I give your bio? Some people say no, but I really like to share a little bit about who's who. Is that okay?
Oh, please. Oh, gosh, please do, because people need to know who I am so they can figure out whether or not to trust what I'm saying, right?
I love it. Let's do it. Okay. So Barb Dean is practicing women's health nurse practitioner in Silicon Valley and a television health expert who's known as Nurse Barb on NBC's California Live. An award-winning author, active in social media and YouTube, Barb earned a master's degree from UCSF and a BS from Boston College. She is certified by the North American Menopause Society and is a fellow in the American Association of Nurse Practitioners. She works on global health initiatives at Fame Hospital in Karatu, Tanzania, where she serves on their board and as a volunteer. She is also the proud mom of a 24-year-old who is now working and completely independent. I want to just celebrate you, Mom.
I am so surprised and so happy and proud of him, of course.
Isn't that great? Doesn't that keep your blood pressure down?
Yes, it does.
That's what I hear.
When the bills don't keep coming in, you're like, wait, you're paying for your own car insurance?
Right.
That does reduce my blood pressure.
Oh my God. Okay. But today's not about blood pressure, but it is about blood pressure. It's about health. It's about the wealth of health. And this conversation about cholesterol has really opened my eyes to some things that, I got to say I was quite ignorant to, and I maybe I'm not the only one. If I am, I'm okay with that. But I know there's a segment of us who don't know a lot about high cholesterol and the things that sort of contribute to high cholesterol and, things about our lifestyle that we can change or transform to really avoid the pitfalls of poor health. And so I just wanted you to kind of jump into some of the things that you've learned along the way as a practitioner that you've seen from a patient perspective, and some things that you have seen in research.
Oh, sure. Of course. Absolutely. I think the first thing to remember is that cholesterol is not all bad. Cholesterol is one of the building blocks in our brains. So we need some cholesterol, right? And cholesterol is also the building block for our hormones and the hormones that we as women need, like estrogen, right? It is the building block for those hormones. Mm-hmm. So it's not all bad, but we don't want a lot of cholesterol circulating in our blood vessels, specifically the arteries, and those are the blood vessels that bring blood from the heart to the rest of your body. We don't want a lot of cholesterol in the teeny tiny small arteries that nourish the heart and the brain. So that's what we're going to talk about today, but it's not all bad. We just don't want a lot of it in certain places.
Okay, so help me out with this. Let's get back to cholesterol 101.
Okay.
What is it? Is it a liquid? Is it a matter? What is it? Is it a cellular material? Kind of break down to us what exactly it is, and then we can talk
What?
about what it does. I don't think we know
what
what it is. Like what form does it sit in? I'm just kind of, where are we there?
what is cholesterol? Okay, it's kind of a waxy, fatty substance, and it's found in every cell in your body.
Hmm.
And it's made by your liver, and you can find it in foods. And most people know what an egg is, right? And an
Hmm.
egg yolk has a lot of cholesterol in it. It's also found in most animal proteins and the fats. So it's a waxy substance, and it also forms the basis to make hormones like estrogen and progesterone that we need to ovulate and menstruate.
Hmm.
And our brains rely on cholesterol. So cholesterol is also a energy source for our bodies.
Mm. Interesting. So, I mean, is it something that is it gained from food, or is it just a natural matter that comes with the body? Is it part of our kit, or is it something that we grow or build upon?
I love how you say that, part of your kit. So there are a lot of vegans and vegetarians who have no animal protein at all, and they still have lots of cholesterol. How did that happen? It's
Hmm.
because our body needs cholesterol, so it manufactures it from some of the other foods that we eat. So a lot of people who eat a lot of carbohydrates,
Hmm.
they will make something called triglycerides, which are
Hmm.
a type of like I always say, tri means three, like tricycle is three wheels.
Hmm.
Triglyceride is three molecules of sugar. This is very, very basic, but
Hmm.
our body will use triglycerides and convert it into a type of cholesterol called LDL cholesterol. So even if you don't have any animal protein, your body is making cholesterol out of it.
Mm. You know what's so interesting? I'll have to tell you, ever since I've begun this journey with healthy women and talking about the, health, wealth, and some of the principles that are key for us to really be conscious in our bodies, food has just been the number one piece of the conversation in terms of the relationship with food and how it impacts the way that our bodies are able to build and create, the right health material. So this is quite interesting that you're pointing us back to, when you say carbohydrates, I'm thinking about, oh my God, you just touched on my bread habits. You're touching on all the little fun things that we like to eat, but that have consequence, right?
That's right. And, I think it is important to think about, if I do eat sort of healthy foods and I stay away from the snack aisle, right, which is so yummy, right? And sometimes you just want crackers or chips, but a lot of them have different kinds of fats that are not healthy and can produce more cholesterol as well. So when you think about, eating leaner meats and maybe skipping the skin on chicken,
Mm-hmm.
or going for a little bit more fish or seafood, you're reducing your total cholesterol intake. But on the other hand, having oatmeal for breakfast
Mm-hmm.
is really helpful because it helps reduce the total cholesterol in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And making choices. I'm all about food first. I'm all about having a healthy diet and never going all or nothing, because when we go all or nothing, we feel deprived with certain foods, then we start to binge a couple weeks later. But
Yeah.
we can enjoy our favorite foods, but just have less of them if, and this is a big if you tend to have issues like high cholesterol, or you're prone to diabetes, then we kind of limit what people are eating so that they can enjoy it, but it's not affecting their health adversely.
Mm-hmm. So when you talk about those fats that are the harmful, consequential fats, what are the ones that are like the main culprits on the back of the bag that we can look for when we're in the chip aisle, where I hang out quite a bit?
Mm-hmm. So, okay. So
I'm a chip
now
girl.
the
I'm a
audience
salt
is
girl. Yeah.
okay. Audience, now Sybil is. You're going to have to fight her in the chip aisle.
Yes.
right? But they're good. They taste good. And sometimes,
So
you know,
good.
it's a good thing to have, right? So there's two types of possibly harmful fats. And so the first one you were talking about comes from, you know, red meat, poultry, and the full fat dairy, right? The really yummy cheeses. That comes from saturated fat, like butter. Now, the worst kind is the trans fats. So trans fats, and you can look on the back of the box or the bag, and you really want to reduce the amount of trans fat. And these are made from oils. And I know this gets a little complicated, but when the oils are processed, it becomes partially hydrogenated. So that means that they increase cholesterol, increase the LDL, triglycerides, etc. So avoid trans fats. So what that means is it's better for you to actually have a little bit of butter or olive oil or avocado, like an avocado toast is yummy, right? That's a very healthy fat to have. Then avoid the chip aisle, avoid those trans fats and the partially hydrogenated fats.
Okay. That's very good. Great girlfriends. Write that down because
avoid.
I got to tell you, Nurse Barb. So here's the deal. And I've told our audiences for years, I am working on like my 75-year-old run on the beach self, right? And I had this revelation that she's living inside of my current body. And that scared me some years ago because I was like, wait, I don't get a backup. Like, this is it. So I have to really, stay alive when it comes to health and consciousness. And so it really did shift my perspective around food. And I started to do change a lot of habits, just a lot of, choices, like you said, around foods. And I have my cheat moments, but for the most part, I try to remain fairly regimented. But, we're looking at the fact that what we do today builds on who we are tomorrow, right? And there is no backup, there's no second chance at this health thing. So talk to me a little bit about, some of the day-to-days of it, because what I know is, a lot of us will say, well, I have a cheat day here and I have moderation here. Kind of give me an idea of what are good practices just to implement for the long journey that we're on.
I love this because life is not a dress rehearsal. And you're right. You get one chance and you're so right. And I see it. I'm 61 years old and it's so much harder to lose weight at my age. And, there's a lot of things that I used to do in my 20s and 30s that I'm like, oh my God, if I knew then what I know now. And so maybe Sybil, you and I can talk about that. And I appreciate the question. So how do you do this practically? Okay. Number one is pre-decide before you go to the grocery store. I am not going to buy more crackers and chips. Right. So you pre-decide. So you're not getting to the aisle going, well, that looks good. Oh, it's on sale. It's 2 for 1. Okay. I'll buy it just this once. So pre-decide also, maybe I'm going to skip the ice cream this week. I'm going to have it next week.
No.
And that's that's another important thing that we can all benefit from.
Yes.
So one thing is we are hardwired deep in our brains that when we see food, we need to eat it because we are still back in the caveman days where there could be a famine. And so when you see food, your brain is going, eat it, eat it, eat it, because it may not be here tomorrow. But now, pretty much most of us, unless we're in a low resource area or we've lost our jobs, we know that there's going to be food tomorrow. We know that brownie that we're looking at, there's going to be another one available tomorrow or the next day. But our brains haven't caught up with that. So they're going, eat it now. You may never see another brownie in your life. So we have to fight against that and go, wait a second. Okay, hang on. You're trying to trick me. I will have a brownie tomorrow or next week. So we want to pre-decide and understand that food will be there and it will be available again. The next thing, so we pre-decide before we go to the grocery store, right?
I love that, great girlfriends. That's an excellent tip. That will change the way we navigate the grocery store and how long we spend in what aisle, right?
Exactly. And to say to yourself, you know what? and I taught myself how to do this. I can dip carrots and slices of cucumber in salsa to get the crunch. And I can add a little bit more salt. And I'm getting lots of healthy vegetables, lots of antioxidants, lots of great nutrients without the chips. And I'm getting that salsa flavor.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Spend more time. We say on the not in the middle of the grocery store, but on the sides. On the sides is where the vegetables are. So when you're there, and start thinking about having a lot more vegetables in your diet, and big, yummy salads will fill you up. And the other part is, if you eat more protein with a little bit more fat, you will feel fuller. You won't feel deprived. You won't feel hungry. We feel hungry when we eat a lot of carbohydrates because our blood sugar spikes and then it crashes back down and we're like, wait a minute, I'm hungry again. But here's a tip. If you have drizzle a little bit of olive oil on a salad, maybe add a few cubes of cheese, you will feel full. You will not feel deprived, and you will be getting tons of good nutrients. I've also moved away from the bottled salad dressings, and I use olive oil and balsamic vinegar. Now, I'm Italian, right? So that's what we do anyway. But you can sort of teach yourself, wow, you know what? This tastes pretty good. And then you actually taste the vegetables. Do you want some more tips? I know I'm just kind of rattling them on here.
No, those are really good. Now, I wanted to ask you if there's a relationship, or what is the relationship between high blood pressure and cholesterol? I tend to hear a conversation of the two sort of not hand in hand, but close by as neighbors. Is that all food related, or is that just, am I kind of hallucinating here?
No, you're not. So the issue with high cholesterol and high blood pressure is that when people have high blood pressure, their arteries, remember those teeny tiny little arteries, they have been under so much stress from those high pressures that they also get smaller and smaller. They narrow, they get thinner. And when you have that waxy cholesterol buildup, right? There's also little particles of calcium that come by and just hang on to that waxy cholesterol. What happens is that those blood vessels, the inner lining gets more and more narrow. Think of it like plumbing in a tube, right? So there's all this buildup, this waxy buildup inside, and the heart's trying to pump through it. Well, if there's enough cholesterol, it will close off. It will close off those small arteries, and that can lead to stroke and heart attack. Unfortunately, what happens is, as there's more and more waxy buildup, the heart has to work harder and harder to get that blood through those narrow tubes.
Oh my goodness. And so when you start bringing the heart into conversation, that's important, because I'm learning about heart disease and who it affects. And I think that, our audience would be, our ears should be open to the conversation about heart disease. Can you talk a little bit about how that consequentially lands us into that conversation?
Sure. I work in women's health, and I've been doing gynecology and obstetrics for over 30 years. Most women, when you ask them, what is the biggest risk to your health? They say breast cancer, right? Most people think it's not.
Wow.
It's not. Only 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer. 1 in 8. So that's less than 10%. And most of those women, if we catch it early, they will live. But 50%, half of us, flip a coin, look to the right, look to the left, right? Half of us will die of heart disease.
Wow.
50% of us. So it's a real issue, right?
At what age, Nurse Barb, is that? That's huge. I had no idea. My goodness. Is it at a certain age, or, a certain demo?
Well, most women with heart disease do not start to show the effects until they're in their 50s, 60s, and beyond. There are some people who have a family history of early heart attack. Those folks probably have a genetic predisposition to make even more cholesterol. So to the people who are listening, if you have a family history of people who had heart disease or a heart attack prior to age 50, do talk to your healthcare provider. Ask for more extensive testing of your cholesterol levels because there may be a genetic predisposition. Now, diabetes plays a role. So diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease, they all go together. It's terrible. It's a terrible storm, it's so those things. So most women are not having heart attacks in their 30s and 40s, but the stuff you do now, the good healthy habits you do in your 20s, 30s, and 40s help protect your heart in your 50s, 60s, and beyond. And it's never too late. Never too late. So if you have a family member who's in their 50s or 60s and they already have high blood pressure and diabetes and you're worried about them, it is not too late to make some really healthy changes and choices that help reverse what they're already experiencing.
My goodness, this is important. This conversation, you've dropped so many amazing gems in this conversation. And one of the major things that you've given me that we didn't even talk about, but as a mom, of a 9 and an 11-year-old, you've helped to give me more insight into how I can help create a better legacy for my children, right? So, I can't change, what takes place with my dad who's passed and my mom who is, she's not passed, don't get me wrong, but she's in her habits and she'll have to make some of her own health choices. But I can really, really help to stimulate my children to shape their health journey in a different way with more consciousness by teaching them, to choose foods differently, to awaken to the idea that, if they skirt the grocery store around the edges, is that the language that you used? they go around the edges and not in the middle, not those aisles, but if they spend more time exploring their vegetables and exploring how they can incorporate vegetables into their snacking habits, things like that, I give them a better opportunity at a longer, healthier lifespan. And so as a mom, you really have boosted my ownership, right? And you've given me that empowerment to be the hero for our family.
Well, Sybil, you made the bridge. You did that bridge and you are so right. And I thank former First Lady Michelle Obama. She really put this into the forefront. So if I can just say, there are 4 things that you can do as a parent. So number 1, you can't just say, eat your vegetables while you're not eating vegetables. You have to model it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Number 2, take your kids shopping with you and have them pick out the fruits and vegetables, and mostly vegetables, right? Everybody likes fruit. So it's, we really need 3 to 5 servings of veggies a day, and 2 fruits, and avoid the juices because it's just pure sugar. So eating an apple is better than having a glass of apple juice. But if they pick it out, they're more likely to eat it.
Yeah.
Second, cook with them. When kids are stirring and chopping and adding and they're tasting, they're more likely to eat the food. And this is a gem. I like that you say gem. Put any vegetable on a skewer and add a dip. Kids will eat anything on a toothpick or a skewer. And think about all the parties you go to. It could be something horrible. You put a little fluffy or frou-frou toothpick on it. People go, oh, let me pick that up and put that in my mouth, right? If you put cherry tomatoes with a toothpick, kids will do it, right? They'll spear it. They like to do that. And if you add a little bit of a dip, sometimes, get them started, that's, kids will do that. So like chopping up, carrots and cherry tomatoes, I really like, and cucumbers. Most of the time you can get those year round. They're not that expensive. And putting them out. The other thing is, I know most people are sheltering in place, but when you're cooking dinner or you're making food for your kids, put out vegetables first and go, gosh, I don't have dinner ready. So when they're hungry, they're going to start eating vegetables. Put them out first. And I used to do this with my son, right? Oh, there's lots of carrots and celery out there. No peanut butter on the celery. And he'd be so hungry, he would eat the vegetables. And then I would go, oh, now dinner's ready, honey.
Yeah. Like, look at here. It's all done now. That's perfect timing.
Yeah. How about that?
That's so good. Wow, I love that.
Oh.
That is super helpful. And I'm also just thinking from a friend perspective because, yes, many people are sheltering in and we're also kind of grabbing a brunch here and there with our great girlfriends and,
Hmm.
or we may be cooking together now, spending more time indoors doing it. And a lot of times when women unwind, we bring out the snacks, right? And so
Hmm.
but the accountability lies in those relationships. That's another place of wealth and prosperity is in your friendships. So, can you kind of touch on some new habits we can incorporate with our great girlfriends? Maybe, as we're brunching or as we're preparing to cook and, getting those moments together.
Yes. I mean, I'm Italian, right? And it's all
Hmm.
about food and friendship and sharing recipes. And I think if you're getting together and maybe you're having some libations,
Hmm.
having different kinds of options available before sort of the big reveal and the big yummy brunchy food.
Hmm.
And it's a real issue, right? Is like how do you do that without bringing out the full fat um, recipes?
Hmm.
So one thing to think about is making sure you have lots of colorful choices on a plate,
Hmm.
and having that sort of be the centerpiece. So one thing that most people really like are beets, and I don't. Most people have access to Trader Joe's, and the beets that they come in a box, and you can just slice them up, add a little bit of shredded carrots, and a couple spoonfuls of goat cheese. Drizzle some olive oil and some lemon juice, and you have that. It's really colorful. It's pretty yummy. And people are like, "What? Wait, that's actually pretty good."
Hmm.
Another great brunch idea is chopped tomatoes with basil and a little bit of garlic. You can make bruschetta or bruschetta.
Hmm.
Having bruschetta toast there. Avocado toast is a huge hit.
Hmm.
Avocado is loaded with good, healthy fat. And when people eat good, healthy fat like avocado and olive oil, they tend not to eat as much because they feel fuller faster.
Hmm.
And then when you're making something like eggs, have the eggs, but maybe instead of having two yummy eggs Benedict, maybe just make sure there's just one per person, right?
Hmm.
So limiting the amount of servings. Um, are those the kind of things you're looking for,
Yeah,
Sybil?
no, those are good. And you also gave me an idea in my head. I was thinking sometimes fun to color code food. So maybe
Mm,
if great girlfriends are getting together and you want to kind of be health conscious or have a competition or who can make like a really cool vegetable dip and just
mm.
some like, yeah, you really, and another thing, you should be Chef Barb instead of Nurse Barb because the way you talk about food really
Oh.
has me thinking of it stimulated my own ideas, but yeah, I think that idea, what I'm hearing you say is raise the consciousness and, be the one who kind of pilots the change in your friendships because sometimes friendships need that transformative kickstart. Sometimes in our friend circles we carry really bad food habits and we can actually, take that opportunity in our relationships to say, not only do I love being around you, but I also care how long I get to be around you. And
Hmm.
if I can help
Hmm.
you make better food decisions or if we can enjoy food in a different way, then we get to do this for a longer amount of time and enjoy it and not have, restrictions and medicines and things that we have to take before we eat. And, you know, we get to just enjoy the journey differently.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Well, I have a website, nursebarb.com, and I have zero ads and I don't sell anything. And I
Hmm.
also am on Facebook at Nurse Barb Dina. I have a couple videos of cooking healthy plant-based recipes that I modified from my grandmother.
Oh,
And
wow.
I love what you're saying. So I hope people will check out nursebarb.com and my Facebook. I did a 19-day health and wellness challenge for COVID-19. And a lot of it was about taking good care of yourself and having more vegetables in your diet. So there's some great recipes there from my Italian grandmother. Because, man, they ate so many vegetables because they didn't have enough money to buy meat. So, that's, and a lot of people come from those kinds of stories, right? A lot of us have ancestors who did not have access to a lot of higher priced food items, and they had to make do, and they had to make them tasty.
Yes. Yeah. And it turns out they were on track to what is keys to longevity, right?
Exactly.
and the rest of us have to kind of reverse some of the different decisions. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's a lot of value there, and also, rediscovering the earth. I think, especially now, our food supplies are looking a lot different. With COVID, in a grocery store, we're not seeing some of our favorites, and or they're on delay. This is a really great time to reinvent what is a favorite or reprioritize what goes in the cabinet, for sure.
And fall's coming up, right? So butternut squash. Oh my gosh, it is so yummy.
It is delicious. I love it.
Do you love it? I mean, saute it a little bit with a little bit of onion, saute it till it caramelizes, because actually there's quite a bit of sugar in there. So it caramelizes, and then gosh, man, now you're making me hungry, Sybil.
Done. You have made me so hungry, but you've also left me so full, because the knowledge here has been incredible. Nurse Barb, I can't thank you enough for what you've shared. Great girlfriends. Nurse Barb has given us so much to consider. She's helped us to establish a better relationship with the foods that we can love and adore on a daily basis. And she's helping us take care of our super amazing, incredibly senior selves, so that, what we do today can help us be stronger and better for tomorrow. So I really want to thank you, Nurse Barb, for taking out what's an early morning for you to jump on with me and share these resources for our community. I really, truly appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, Sybil, what an honor to be asked to share some of my experience. This has been so much fun. You're fun.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Okay, so give us your social handles one more time so everyone can write them down and jump on and grab recipes.
Oh gosh. So it's nursebarb.com. That's the easiest. And my last name, Dean, is spelled D-E-H-N. So on all my socials, it's at Nurse Barb, D-E-H-N, Nurse Barb Dean, D-E-H-N. But you can find it at nursebarb.com and, search around. Again, I'm not selling anything. So I don't want, I don't have an ad. I don't think women should have to leapfrog over ads to get health information.
This is incredible, Nurse Dean. Thank you so much, Nurse Dean, the Queen, I should say. Thank you so much for all of this powerful information. You empowered us and you left us with a lot less fear. So those two outcomes were met. Thank you. Great girlfriends, did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast, into the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group, The Great Girlfriends. You follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends and on Twitter at @the_great_GFS. Last but not least, we'd like to thank my amazing husband, Kwaku, Sam and Dilly, and all of you for being a part of the global community that makes us so strong. Please remember to share with your friends, keep listening, and keep being a great girlfriend. I'm Sybil Amuti, and I'm out. Peace.